cats and kittens, whatever I can say, Yoshko, I'm back in practice corner on Mondays. I'm a couple of days late, but I'm back to give my impressions on One Piece chapter 1155, which is entitled The Rocks Pirates. Now, I have to say, I'm enjoying this flashback. Absolutely, I'm enjoying it. Lots of mind-blowing revelations and so forth. I just hope he wraps this up relatively quickly because it's starting to get like Inception. We're like three levels down in flashbacks. Flash. I'm just starting to forget what we're what's the point of the flashbacks. But I have to keep reminding myself. The flashback is telling us how King Harold, who killed King Harold. Okay. That's what ultimately we're going to have to take away from this, which is relevant to the present. But that's not to say that any of the other revelations, Loki's, you know, horrible past, the revelation that Rox is Blackbeard's father, and all of that is all relevant. And that's the beauty of what Oda's doing. But just wrap this up. Anyway, so now we get to the meeting between Loki and Rox. And we see Rox, he's very much like Blackbeard in that he's at least amoral. Loki explains to Rox that his father is away, so he tells him, look, just go back and tell them that tell Harold that his son has been gravely wounded and you have to return to Elbath at once. So he wants a message to be sent to Harold that his son has been gravely wounded. And then he proceeds to gravely wound Loki so that Harold would come back. Now, this is something else because Loki jumped from the sun world down to the underworld, didn't die. He got banged up, yeah. But I wouldn't even say that he was gravely wounded from that fall. But then my man Rox hits him with some type of attack, like divine departure level attack, which is characterized as it says Rock's sword attacks were famous for blasting everything in sight like a gigantic hammer or cannonball, which is similar to Zoro's attacks early out when he was hitting people with the so and so pound cannon or whatever. That's just what came to my mind when they say describe it as a hammer or a cannonball attack. Anyway, so it's like blunt force trauma he hits Loki with, and that's going to get Harold back to Elbath. Then we skip to a flashback. This is where we go on Inception. We take another level down in the Inception, and we go a flashback to when Harold first met Rox. So Rox and Harold had both invaded Marijor for at the time of the revelry. It says at the revelry 1 year. So I'm not exactly sure how many years uh, back from the current flashback, which is 43 years from the present. I think it's hard to keep this straight. I think it's 43 years from the present. So at some point prior to that, some X amount of years, both Harold and Rox were at the revelry. Now, Rox had invaded the flower room where Emu, you know, sits around doing this flower thing. My question is one, how did he know that Emu was there or even existed? So he must know the whole secret about the Iron Throne not being empty, and there's somebody sitting above all of the kings in the world government. How did he come across that information? And how did he get into the flower room unchallenged and unnoticed? Because if Emu is like any of the powerful hockey users that we see currently running around in One Piece, I'm assuming there's a level of observation hockey that would alert him to the presence of a powerful person, which Rox has to. He is. Rox is extremely powerful, and powerful people usually know when other powerful people are in their vicinity. So, one, how did he know the emu was there? Two, how did emu not know that Rox was there? And then we also see that Gunko is there. And this, again, according to the Inception, this is at least 50 years past in the past. And Brooks would be, at this point, anyway. So we know that Gunko. So if Gunko met Brooks when she was a little girl or younger, then Gunko looks doesn't look. Maybe that's not that long after she met Brooke. I don't know. Like I say, with all of the levels of Inception going on here, I can't keep it straight. But I'm a simple-minded dude, so don't worry about me. So Rox invades Emu's inner sanctum, talks smack, and then dips out. But he does say that he's coming back. And they said this is a feat that hasn't been, this is in a historic anomaly, never repeated before or since. So nobody's got that far into Emu's inner lair. We know that Sabo got to the throne room and barely escaped with his life. Rox got into the flower room and escaped, basically unharmed. But on the way out, he runs into Harold. Harold had gone there to, what did he say? He said he trespassed, but he went there for what? But this is necessary. He said he went there for talks. So he as we know Harold is on an ambassador type mission, making alliances across the world. So I'm assuming he went to the Revelry to make more alliances, but they weren't feeling it, so they chased him out. Regardless, he runs into Rocks. He attempts to capture Rocks, knowing that he's the one who attacked the Admiral, who later died, and also that Rocks is the one that kidnapped the kings. And Harold doesn't want to take the blame for it, so he's going to capture Rocks and turn him over to the authorities to clear his own name. The two clash, and their conquerors hockey clash, and blows away everything from, as it says, the clash between strangers eradicates any sign of others for 5 kilometers around. So us here in the West, that's like 3 miles. So their hockey was so strong that it blew everything around them away, or any persons around them away, for a 3 mile radius, which is deep. And they seem to be getting off on this battle, or at least on that clash. They're getting off on the clash because Rox asks Harold's name, and every time you ask somebody their name, you're acknowledging their strength. And they exchange names, and basically, at this point, they have to flee. So Harold jumps off the red line, which is insane. But I guess if his son as an infant could jump from the sun world down to the underworld, I guess like father like son or like son like father, whatever. So he escapes. Harold escapes. Rox goes on to infamy. He killed the admiral. He invaded the Holy Land. He winds up robbing uh, a ship full of tribute to the celestial dragons, therefore uh, obtaining a economic base. Furthermore, he goes on to compete in Davy back fights to win over more crewmates. He's building a crew. He's building soldiers for his grand plan to make a nation for himself. So ultimately, he comes back. He comes to Elbath and lays it on Harold. Yo, join my crew because I'm plotting to basically take over the world. And he's well. One thing I want to go back and one point. Harold comes back because he heard Loki was hurt. No one ever says no one ever said that Rox is the person who hurt Loki. Loki didn't tell Harold that, which he could have, but he didn't. And maybe nobody else knew, whatever. So Harold just assumes that Loki got hurt jumping down into the underworld or falling into the underworld. I'm pretty sure he didn't know that his son tried to off himself because Harold is not a bad father. He's just absorbed in being king and trying to help his nation. I would say that. But he technically, yes, he's a bad father to some degree. But he loves this son. And Loki is even shocked that he came back because he's never received any type of real love from his parents or perceived any love from his parents, definitely not from his mother. She was scum. And he's confused actually. He said he actually came back because of me. There got to be some kind of coincidence, but no, he came back because he loves his son. So aside from that, we see Rox dropping his plan on Harold that basically he's take over Hachinosu, Pirate Island. Um, there was a discovery of a vein of gold on the island. The island was initially just like Australia back in the day. It was a dumping ground for miscreants and lunatics and so forth. You just send them there and they're condemned to die there. But the world government didn't know is that there was a vein of gold underneath that island. The inmates found the gold and became rich. Rock's thing is, I'm going to go there. I'm going to say that I'm going to take the island back for the world government, but then I'm going to take over that island and create a pirate's paradise, which eventually is going to expand into a global empire. Far-fetched plan, but he's a real powerful dude, and he's crazy enough to try. So powerful people that are crazy and have others at their back, they're dangerous. It's like some Hitler type junk. All right, so that's his plan, and he lays it down to Harold, and Harold's like, "No, I'm king. I have to do king stuff. You on your own, man. Deal with it." Loki's overhearing this, and he's like, "Oh man, he's enamored with Rox because he wants to tear the world down at this point. He's simpatico with this dude. He's feeling him, you know. So now he's gone from somebody who would jump off the top of a giant tree to his death to being somebody who's has a person he admires and a goal that he admires. So he's basically found a reason to live because of this lunatic. So that's how we get Loki. Now we see why he's an admirer of Rox. The next thing we have to see now, I guess, that's where the chapter ends. And I guess what's next is Rock's taking over. Again, I gotta keep remembering who this flashback is about. Rox takes over Hashinosu, that's fine. But we still gotta figure out why the world government sent the assassins to kill Harold specifically. We can kind of see where it's coming from because technically, if you just want to say he was someone who crossed the world government at a particular point, although he's never actually done anything to try to overturn the world government. But if they, I don't know, we got to find out why they sent. Well, look at it this way: not wanting to fall under the world government's um, not protection necessarily, but under their banner is enough reason for them to want to subjugate the Giants. You can't have a wild card that strong just running around independent. So that's enough for them to try to the take over Elbath, although we know until present they haven't been able to do this. I'd like to know why, because it seems like was always strong enough to at least make the attempt. Emu, his holy knights, and all of that good stuff. Because it's only currently, you know, Elbath is under siege and basically subjugated, and Emu only sent what 3 people to get the job done. Granted, the Giants are not the ruthless warriors that they used to be, but they're still giants and they're still powerful. And they sent 3 people and they got the job done up until right now, because we know that the tides are about to turn on the invaders, on the whole God's Knights. At some point, the tide's going to turn and Elbath will be saved. I'm pretty sure about that. But it seems like they could have done this at any time. We'll see. So the plot thickens. I just want Oda to keep it tight and get to the point. I mean, we got name drops. We got Davy Jones name drop. Don't go into that any further. Let's say Davy Jones was Rox was a worshiper of Davy Jones. All right, leave it there. Don't go any farther than that, because I need this tightened up and just get to the point. Anyway, beautiful story, beautiful chapter. I enjoyed it. I'm just needing this to wrap up or tighten up relatively soon. But nice lore expansion. I get Loki. I get him absolutely, without question, and I get Harold. All right, just tie it up. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let me know what you think. That's it for this week. Until there's a break. We're currently in a break, but there's a chapter next week. So until then, stay loose.